Remember when we are solving equations that if you squint at them, they kind of look like ax squared plus bx plus c, but x instead of x or something funny there. We're going to use what is called U-substitution. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at what would traditionally be the bx term and ask ourselves, what is the thing sitting next to that number that would be our b? In this case, b would be 6 and x squared is what's sitting next to it. We're going to make that the letter u. We're going to set u equal to x squared. Now, we're going to set u equal to x squared again, and we're going to square both sides and see what we get. Well, x squared squared is x to the fourth. So anywhere we see an x to the fourth, we can substitute in a u squared. Anywhere we see an x squared, we can substitute a u and see how both of those appear in our original equation. So that means we are going to get the equation u squared plus 6u minus 40 is equal to 0. So by using this U substitution, what we're seeing is now this is something that looks just like stuff that we learned already, which is, something easy to factor. So we can go ahead and factor this equation, what two numbers multiply to 40 and add to -6. Well, that would be a -4 and a +10. And remember, our variable right now is the variable u. So we get u minus 4 times u plus 10 is equal to 0. Setting each of these factors equal to 0, we can see that we will get u is equal to -4, or sorry, +4, and that u is equal to -10. But remember, it's not all about u. U is not what we were looking for here. We were looking for x. So go back to that original equation for u. What was u? U was x squared. So we need to substitute the x squared back in to both of these equations, and we need to finish solving for x. So this is going to take us back to the very beginning of the class, and all the different things that we've learned how to solve, we're going to come up again in U substitution, which is why I like doing this at the end of the unit. So how do I undo a squared? I take the square root of both sides. And what do I have to remember to add? Well, remember, if you've got a squared, you should be getting two answers. So we have to add a plus or a minus. Over here, when we take square root of both sides, what is the square root of a negative give us? Well, the square root of 10 is just square root of 10, but the square root of the negative becomes an I. And since we were square rooting a squared, we need two answers. Don't forget that plus or minus. So notice for an x to the fourth answer, we actually have four answers here. Two are real, two are complex or imaginary.